How y'all doing today? Good. Oh, come on. Y'all doing good? All right. Hey, one more time for Chinley and all the elementary schools that were on it. Give it up. Come on. Yes, yes, yes. So powerful, so powerful. Such an honor to be here. Truly blessed to be in front of you guys today. Everyone that made this possible, you know who you are, so I just want to say thank you. But there's nobody that I'd rather be in front of today than you guys. You guys work harder than anybody that I've ever seen in my life. Every time I have a meeting with educators, I'm like, oh my goodness, these guys are professional problem solvers. How do they compartmentalize all these different things? They do this, they do that. So I'm very grateful for what you guys do. You guys are truly hard workers. You are smart workers. So today, all I want to do is encourage you. How do we go to the next level? How do we become the very best? And how do we not lose ourselves in the process? So one thing that really struck me, you guys, I had a pitching coach in college. His name was Todd Oakes. I was playing at University of Minnesota, and Todd was a man's man. How many of you guys been around a man's man before? Like he walks in the room, and you already know he's been there for a while. Right, this was Todd. He had the Fu Manchu going on, 6'4". He played in the Giants organization. Very, very fit man. But beyond that, he was somebody that modeled, right? Everything that he wanted out of us, he did. So when he said faith was important, it was important. When he said fitness was important, that man was always on the elliptical. He was always training, right? Communication was important to him. Family was important to him. So every time we had a game or a practice, I feel like his wife was in the stands, his kids were there. He just modeled the things that he wanted out of us. So whenever Todd spoke, we listened, right? He was just one of those people. So going throughout like college, this was a mentor of mine for sure, almost like a father figure, if you will. Somebody that really guided me down a path, guided me with my mindset, guided me in different areas of my life. That's who he was. So in 2013, my sophomore year of college, I remember we all got some news that we didn't want to hear. And Todd was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. And he had gone to the doctors. He just hadn't been feeling right. He'd been sluggish. Things just weren't, he just wasn't himself. Now, I don't know where you guys are at personally, in your marriage, professionally, with your health, whatever, with your spouse at home, whatever is going on, I don't really know that about you. But I know this, that Todd posted something on his Caring Bridge right after he was diagnosed with cancer from the hospital bed. And it shook and changed my life forever. I remember getting that email, and the title of that Caring Bridge that day was, "Why Not Me?" And I could not believe the words that came out of that man's mouth in the face of adversity. And he started typing, he started writing, I was reading, and I'm almost brought to tears, saying things like, why not me the one to get cancer? Why not me suffer? Why not me go through difficult things? Why not me have to go through this? Why am I exempt from cancer? Why am I exempt from pain? Why am I exempt from suffering? And it was such a powerful message. And I want all of us to take that mindset, whatever we face, why not you be the one to have to go through it? Why not you? Because when we go through something and we get through something, then we can help other people go through the thing that they need to go through. And when Todd said those things to us in practice, he literally meant them. He wasn't just living this in public, he was living it in private. And that's what I see with Chinley. That's what I see with Ed Pastor. That's what I see with Saley. They were living these things in private. They were doing the work when nobody was watching. They were visiting homes when nobody was watching, knocking on doors. And Todd, when he said those things were important to him, he was working with his family. He was working on his faith. He was working on his character to be the type of man that in the face of adversity he could say, why not me? Now, as a speaker, I like to study other speakers. And one of the best there is Dr. King, right? And I was listening to him the other night, and I heard something, and I've listened to his speech many times. But he said something that today might seem a little bit silly, but then it was profound. He said, I believe and I have a dream that little black boys and little white girls can hold hands together. And that hit me there, and I'm like, man, if you were to show that to somebody today that's younger, they wouldn't really understand that statement. Now, I know there's still racism going on. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying we've come a long way. So what I want to tell you today is I want to say something profound. I want to say something to you guys. And I'm no Dr. King, but why not AZ? This might seem crazy today, but in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, what if this was just a normal thing? That why not AZ be the #1 state in the country for kids to get educated? Why not? Is it going to be difficult? Yes. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. Are there things that we can't control that go into those rankings? Yes. But what are the things that we can control? What are the things that we can do? Why not Arizona? Why not AZ? It's not our schools, right? It's not the buildings we have. It's definitely not the students we have. Because I've been around to a lot of your guys' schools, and I see absolute life changers. I see world changers. Everywhere I go, doesn't matter race, religion, color, what city they're from, I'm like, wow, this place has got a whole bunch of talent. And I know it's not the educators. I know it's not y'all. Because you guys are phenomenal people. And beautiful people. Right? You guys are good-looking people. You guys want to strive. Look, you're taking 3 days away from being on your laptop, being on your phones, being like all in the job. Like I bet all of you, when you get back, you got at least 180 emails. 180 plus. And you're just like, oh man. I know what you guys are dealing with. So you to take 3 days to come here and gain more knowledge, that's impressive to me. Because you have work that you're going to have to make up, and probably most of you, I know your dedication, you'll probably do it on the weekend. Right? You'll probably do it after the kids go to bed. So I'm looking at capable educators, capable state. So then I ask you the question again, why not Arizona? Why can't we be #1? What is it? It is 1,000% possible. And if we look back in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and we're the #1 state in the country for education, it's going to be because of everybody sitting in this room. Because we had a collective group that came together. That's right. That's right. So why I'm here today and what I want to share with you, what are 3 things that could possibly hold us back? What are 3 things that could possibly hold us back from being the very best we possibly can be? #1 thing I want to touch on is sometimes we focus too much on what? Right? Sharka said it best. Chinley knows who they are. They know exactly who they're here to serve. Right? They know who they are. Now, growing up, I focused way too much on what? My whole life was built around an idea of becoming something. My whole life was built on the idea of becoming a major leaguer. Right? Now, I don't know if some of you guys are living your dream or you've had to pivot into this, what you're doing right now. But if you've had a big dream when you were younger, you know what it's like to put all those eggs in that basket. Am I right? And for me, I was growing up and baseball was that thing. My identity was placed in the game. That's the only thing that made me tick. Like if things were going well between the lines, things were going well between the shoulders. Right? If I pitched good, I felt good. If I didn't feel too good. And now that's not to say that everybody knew that. And I think sometimes we're professional about putting on a mask. We're able to think that we're doing okay. Let everybody think that we're doing fine. Where on the inside, we might be crumbling. That was me. Charismatic, outgoing, energetic kid. Right? I was the good baseball player. I got good enough grades. Everybody thought, man, Lance is good. But there was definitely times in my life where I wasn't good on the inside, but I faked it on the outside. And that's what happens when we put too much focus on what? So going throughout high school, I had some struggles, of course. Got recruited to play Division I. took the opportunity to go to University of Minnesota. Got to University of Minnesota, got under the tutelage of Todd Oakes. Unbelievable experience. Had some ups and downs there, but I really still hadn't figured out who I was yet. I hadn't figured out who Lance was at the core. I remember getting a call from the Seattle Mariners. It was one of the greatest days of my life. One of the greatest moments of my life. Hey, Lance, we want to draft you in the Major League Baseball draft. Do you want to come play? I said, absolutely. It's my dream. Let's do it. Came out that first season, crushed it. Okay, came out that next spring training in 2016, and I was struggling, right? I was having a difficult time because I had just gotten hurt. So I was 3 days away from breaking camp, right? I threw a pitch, boom, boom, and then whack. I tore everything to shreds. I don't know if any of you guys have felt that pain before in your life. Right? You had that, I had this burning sensation. I don't know if you maybe tore an Achilles, you've hurt your ACL or something like that, but when you have that type of pain, it's hard to deny that thing going on. Maybe you guys haven't had that physical pain, but you've had that mental struggle. Right? You've had that mental pain where you've broken down. Right? I was in a position right before that moment where I had everything that I wanted as a 22-year-old kid, right? And I say kid, I was a kid. I was a boy, I wasn't a man. I was a 22-year-old boy, right, living out his childhood dream. I was so excited to go to work every day. Like, that was literally my job. I was like, this is crazy. And there were still people who would complain, right? I remember I'd be in the clubhouse. I'm like, bro, we're in a multi-million-dollar facility here in Peoria, Arizona. And I'm like, you guys are complaining about practice? You guys are complaining about the drills we got to do? I was just hyped up to be there. I, could not believe that this was my life. Before I had kids and had children, this could have been a moment you could have pinched me and been like, let's pause life. We can stop right here. Right? This is everything that I've ever desired. That's how I felt. So for me to get that injury, now I'm walking off the field and I take myself out of the game. I'm tingling, I'm burning, and I see my parents, right, behind the chain link fence. You guys know the one, right? Their face is white as ghost. Their hearts are in their toes. I'm like, oh man, they must have saw something that I didn't. That probably didn't look too good. So I'm walking back to the clubhouse, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. I go see the trainers, and we don't really know. We don't really know yet what's wrong. Now, the silver lining in all of this is I was hurt. So I was in Arizona. Had I been healthy, I would have been gone. I would have been in another state playing. So I'm 1,200 miles away from home in Arizona, and I find myself in a bar in Tempe. Right? I'm depressed. I'm not feeling myself. But the silver lining in that is in walks my angel. Somebody was sent to change my life. And in that moment, it was this blondie. And I was like, that could be my wife. But really, she was sent to change me. And that was my future wife, Kaylee, 1,200 miles away from home. If I never would have been hurt, I never would have met her. So I want to remind all of you, whatever situation you're going through at home, whatever situation in your health, your spouse's health, the situation of your school culture, your absenteeism rate, whatever it is, I want to remind all of you, even in a dark place, there is still light. I was in the darkest of places in Tempe. Yep. Amen. Even in the darkest of places in Tempe, Arizona, there was light. And it was my wife, Kaylee. She was sent to change me. And one of the things I remember that she really showed me, I remember we went on a hike one day, right? And we started talking. We sat down on this bench in Glendale. I can't remember the mountain we were on. But she's like, Lance, I hope you know you're more than the game, right? She's like, I can feel the words now. I hope you understand you're more than the game. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Right? When your students are ready, you appear for them. You're the one that shows up when they need you most. You're that angel for other people. And that's who she was for me. So I want to remind you, you know you're more than your school, right? You know you're more than that data, right? You know you're more than the situation that's going on in your life, right? We need to focus more on who we are versus what we do, because what we do controlled how I felt my whole life. I'm 22 years old. I'm finally getting transformation. I'm finally starting to see myself in the mirror and go, hey, you know what? I rock with you whether you play good or you don't, whether you're hurt or whether you're a superstar. Kaylee started to show me these things. She started to lead me to my faith. She started to lead me to things to help me understand who I was at the core. Now, I wish I could tell you after this moment, everything gets better. Oh, I wish I could have told you that. But what I embarked on after that made me into a man. Because I didn't just have Tommy John surgery. I had stem cell. I had PRP. I had loose fragmented bones. I had stress fractures in my elbow, a very uncommon thing after Tommy John. And I wasn't just hurt for 1 year. I was hurt for 3. 3 years I rehabbed. I remember 8 to 2 p.m. every single day, 6 days a week, trying to get healthy. Now you go, what do you do from 8 to 2 p.m. when you're rehabbing your elbow? I promise you, when that's the only thing you got to do, you figure out things to do, right? Figure out things to do. But what I want to leave you with is point number 1 is, in order to achieve and become the best state in Arizona, we got to remember and focus on who we are. Because if we stay attached to what we do, this will break you. This will break you. The data won't make sense, right? Things aren't going to go quickly, and it's not going to be fast enough for you. But if you keep focusing on what, you're going to miss it. You got to focus on who you are. So the thing I need you to do is draw a line in the sand. Everybody hold your hand up real quick. Put your hand up to the sky. I want you to draw a line, right? Cut yourself in half almost like a pizza cutter, right? And I need you to separate your soul from your stat sheet. Separate who you are from what you do. Your environment, your circumstances, the kids' grades, your staff, what's going on in your marriage, all these things that we think define us, I call it our stat sheet. That doesn't define you. Your soul and who you are is so much more value. And what I tell every student before I leave them is, you can never add to worth and value, or you can never take away from it. It's not a dial that you turn. It's a foundation that's been set. Worth and value is not a dial that you turn. It's a foundation that's already been set. All of you already have it within you. All of you are life changers. So if we can focus more on who we are, that gives us freedom to fail more, because now we're not attached to the result. Once I started to understand this, is, hey, I can actually fail faster. I can actually fail forward because I'm not attached to the result. It doesn't define me when things don't go the way I want it to go. Are y'all with me with that? And also, when what doesn't define you, you can leave something bad and let it go. But when you're attached to it, you hang on to it too long. You don't pivot quick enough. Right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Right? Don't we do that with our health? Don't we do that with our diet? Like, oh, no, this year's it will work. I promise you, no, like, it's going to work this time. No, we got to make some pivots. But it's okay. It gives you the freedom to fail when your value is in who you are. Right? When you understand my worth and value doesn't change. Are y'all with me with that one? Okay, good. Let's move it along here. The second thing that causes us not to get to where we want to go is our aim is off. Our aim is off. So last night, I'm in the backyard playing with my kids. I got Radlin and Ranger. Radlin's 4, Ranger's 2. So my mom was asking me, hey, what should we get the kids for Christmas? And I'm like, they need a baseball net, is what they need, Mom. My kids are 4 and 2. They don't need a baseball net. The baseball net was for me. So my kids are playing yesterday. They're asking me to, play with them. I'm like, yo, I'm busy. And I'm throwing the ball into the net. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm playing around with the baseball net, and the net has this like writing on it, and it has these letters. And I'm kind of warming up, and I'm throwing some balls in there. I'm just kind of thinking about you guys, right? I'm thinking about my message, and I'm like, boom. There's an important lesson there. In baseball, at a high level, I was taught this one trick that changed my career. I remember a pitching coach told me, aim small, miss small. Because if you aim at the catcher, you might hit the ump. Right? But he said, I don't want you just to aim at the glove, Lance. I want you to aim at the lace inside the glove. And I was like, okay. So then I started locking in. When I would throw that ball, I wouldn't just look at the glove, I would look at the lace. Because if I aim and I have a finite target that I'm trying to throw something at, if I'm aiming at a lace, I might miss by 2 or 3 inches. Or I might miss by 4 or 5 inches. But if I'm aiming at the catcher, I might miss by 2 feet. Are y'all feeling me? So what that really was about was we need to be finite in what our aim is. And that's not saying we don't have big dreams like we want to be the best state in Arizona, but we got to break those dreams down and those goals into things that we can actually achieve and change. For Chinley, they went from 59% absenteeism to 19%. They decided we're going to lock in on this one thing, and this one thing will change all these other things. This one thing, them being here, will change achievement. This one thing being here is going to change X, Y, and Z. This one thing will change the culture, but they got to be here. They focused finite. They aimed at a very finite thing. So the ways in which that I feel like we need to adjust our aim, number one, we're off in who we're trying to serve. Sometimes we're off in who we're trying to serve. So in the rehab process, I remember as I embarked on year 3 of rehab, things were not going well. I remember I came into the trainer's office and I said, listen, now I'm 25 years old, right? I'm still a boy though. And I walk in there and I'm like, listen, we need to make a change. We need to make an adjustment now. I didn't say it like that. I was like, can we please get a second opinion? I didn't have that conviction then. And you know what? Lo and behold, a couple days later, they're like, yes, Lance, you're right. This isn't going the way it should. Let's go send you to the LA Dodgers. Let's go send you to their doctor. I was like, perfect. I got on a flight. They sent me to LA. I met with Dr. Elatrosh. He looked at my elbow. He looked at my scans. He said, yep, this, and that is off. You guys need to do this injection for 3 months, and then you need to do stem cell, and then you need to do PRP, and I guarantee you, you'll be back on the mound pitching the way that you used to pitch. I said, all right. Lo and behold, we did those things. I did injections every day in the side of my hip. For 3 months, we did PRP and stem cell. I came back. I used to throw 97 miles per hour. I got back on the mound. Within 6 months, I was back to 93. So we made an adjustment. We did something different. But what I want to tell you why that's important to you is because the Mariners understood one thing. They were player-led. They were player-focused. They realized that the player was hurt and their strategy was off. So they needed to make a change. If they weren't player-focused, this whole thing gets ruined. This whole thing doesn't matter. Like the trainer needs to understand that he has no job unless the player is healthy, right? Everybody in the organization, it doesn't matter if you're the GM, you're the owner, it didn't matter if he was the coach, the pitching coach, the strength coach, the nutritionist. The whole thing collapses unless the players play, unless the players do well, right? So in education, it's not a player-led thing, it's student-led. That has to be the only thing that we focus on in who we serve. Every decision that we make needs to be about the students. Everything that we do needs to be about the students. So if we can get crystal clear and finite on that one thing, when we look inside education, we're not just looking at all these other good things that we could do. We're looking at one thing, and it says students. Student focus, student success. Are y'all with me? Okay. So where we miss, number 2, is knowing our role. We try to do too much, right? The eye cannot say to the hand that you're not important. We're all one body, right? We need to know what we're doing, and we need to be focused on the thing that we're doing. We need to know our role. When I was rehabbing, we had a trainer, a doctor, a surgeon, a nutritionist, a strength coach, a pitching coach, and a director of player development, and a GM. There's a lot of roles there happening. The trainer needs to tell the pitching coach how I felt in my rehab. Now, this is all happening in the background. I don't even know this is happening. right? Then the pitching coach has to tell the strength coach that day how I was out there. If I looked lethargic, if I didn't look right, then we need to adjust what I do in the weight room, right? And then that needs to go back to the director of player development. He needs to know that. The nutritionist needs to know so we can adjust the things that I eat. All of these are working pieces, but each person has to be excellent at their role. And each person has to have mutual respect for the other person's role. So same thing here. Right? We got the big dog, Arizona Department of Education. We got the district, the superintendent, the principal, right? The LEA, the para, everybody, the teacher, right? And all the other roles that I don't know about. Right? You guys are like, you missed me? I know. The grant manager, the grant director, yeah. All these other roles that we don't even know about. But what we need to do is understand that each role is valuable, and if we'll just lock in and do our job at the highest level we possibly can, we'll have so much success, it's beyond our wildest imaginations. But one thing we have to do is we got to change the story we tell. We're off with that. What story do we tell about ADE? What story do we tell about our principal? What story do we tell about the teacher? What story do we tell about ourselves? Now let's stay there for a second. It's tough to tell a great story about other people in the shape of education if you're not telling you a good story. Self-talk drives everything. The average person has 80,000 thoughts a day, or 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% are negative. Average person, 60,000 thoughts a day, 80% are negative. That's pretty crazy. Now, I know that's not you guys. But you can take this information back to the other people and let them know, right? Hey, I heard this. It's not me, but it's for you. Right? That's the best when you do that. I heard this message. I know it's for you. No, that one was for you, honey. You think it's for somebody else. It's really for you. But we got to change that story up. So how do we do that? Well, the condition of our heart, what comes out of the mouth flows from the heart. Okay, so we got to change the condition of our heart. How do we think about ADE? How do we think about our educational process? How do we think about all the different pieces? And if we don't understand, why do I think this thought about them? Or why am I saying these things? Maybe we need to go and talk to them. Right? I didn't know much about Sharka before this weekend. But I learned something. Can I share this? Where's she at? Okay, I'm going to share this. I learned something great about her. Right? She's a 2006 pig wrestling champion of the world in Wyoming. You wouldn't have known that. See, I wouldn't have known that. But I'm like, you know what? I really like her a lot more now that you've been down with some pigs. Right? So, so I'm like, I rock with ADE. She's a dog in here. Like, she'll fight some pigs. She'll be definitely fighting for some students. So for y'all, what kind of story do you need to change? Like maybe there's somebody you're constantly having arguments at school, or you're not even arguing, you're at the stage where you don't talk. Like, come on, let's go break bread. Let's have some common ground with them and find a way. We got to change that story, and then change the story you're talking to yourself. When those negative thoughts come in, I really need you to start taking those and hitting them with a bat and knocking them out. Because now when a negative thought comes to me, over the last 3 years, I've written over 9,000 affirmations about myself. You go, Lance, that's really selfish. Yes, it is very selfish, but it's so that I can pour from a full cup. I don't want to be empty all the time, right? So I need to remind myself every morning, just like I did this morning. The routine doesn't change based upon where I'm at. The routine stays the same, right? I am worthy. I am a champion, right? I am called. I do have purpose. Those type of things. So then when a negative thought comes creeping in, hey, Lance, nobody wants to hear you talk. Hey, Lance, you're not going to do very good. Or the one I had over there, hey, Lance, you should probably just leave. I was like, what? I can't leave. I can't just get out of here. But when those things come in, I tee them up and I go, whack. I go, that doesn't belong here. So I want you to be able to do that with your self-talk. When those negative things come in, that doesn't belong here. Y'all with me with that? Okay. Now, as we wrap this up and you guys get out here and you get ready to learn, the number 3 thing that we struggle with that holds us back is we have a short-term perspective. It's too short-term. Way too short-term. My book is called You're Being Planted, Not Buried. And I've called that for a reason. In those 3 years of pain, in those 3 years of darkness where I couldn't get healthy, nothing was changing externally, but everything was changing internally. Now, the difference between being planted and being buried is this. If I were to watch two people in a garden, right, because I do that all the time. I'm watching two people in a garden. One of them's burying something, one of them's planting something. Right? I wouldn't know which is which until I know what's going in the ground. Right? Because it's deep, it's dark, it's watery, it's muddy. You're lucky, because normally with students I make them demonstrate this. And I have them come and dig a shovel, right? But it's deep, it's dark, it's watery. You don't know if somebody's burying something or planting something until you know what goes in the ground. Because with burying, you're admitting death and decay. But with planting, you're admitting an opportunity for life, an opportunity for growth, to develop a root system that can hold your future harvest. Right? 2/3 of a tree, any tree that you look at outside when you leave here today, I want you to do that. When you leave, I want you to look at the tree and I want you to imagine 2/3 of that tree is beneath the surface. 2/3 of it. So all of you need to change your perspective that everything that happens to you, whether that's personal, in your marriage, whatever, at the school, the culture, your health, everything that happens to you, you're not being buried, but you're being planted. Planted for a higher calling. Planted for a purpose. Planted to change lives. Are y'all with me? We need to have a long-term perspective. And this is why I believe, why not Arizona? Why not AZ? Because a seed that only gets sunshine, it doesn't grow. But a seed that gets storms, rain, wind, it becomes the strongest. That's why Arizona is primed to be number one. We've been through some storms. Y'all have been through some rain. Y'all have been through some difficult situations. Now you have the data to analyze. Now you have the things not to do. Now you know exactly what's been working and what we need to pour gasoline on the fire. You know exactly what you need to do to reap a huge harvest in the future. And it's going to be because of all of you. So when I come back to this conference and I speak again in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, whenever that is, I'm going to know it's going to be because of all of you and the seeds that you planted that we're reaping a number one harvest in the future. Are y'all down with that? All right, y'all. Thank you so much for your time. There's QR codes for a free resource for you. I'm Lance Thonvold, but before we do that, I need you to stand up for the retrieval of our colors. Everybody give them a round of applause. Have a blessed day.